How you
We're
doing?
live. So this is Dr. Ben with the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm super excited to have my guest on today, Dr. Stephen Franson. We are just here to provide some details on chiropractic practice. Dr. Stephen founded the remarkable practice several years back. And Dr. Franson, can you just get started by introducing yourself and sharing with the prospective student audience what you were up to before you became a chiropractor and what attracted you to this path?
Hey, Doc. Thanks so much for inviting me. Always a pleasure and privilege to speak to any and all chiropractors, but I have a special place in my heart for students. So thanks for asking me, guys. Excited for our conversation today, and congratulations for choosing the greatest profession in the world. And I know that some of you may be sitting there saying, actually, I didn't choose chiropractic. Chiropractic chose me. So congratulations. Just awesome. So I can introduce myself just super high level and just give maybe a bit of background, a little window into my path. I always feel like I get more out of a message when I feel like I know the messenger a little bit more. So I'm 26 years a chiropractor. I'm married to my favorite chiropractor in the world, Dr. Franson. We have 7 chiropractors in my family. Both of her sisters are chiropractors. Both of them are married to chiropractors. My brother's married to a chiropractor. So we have you surrounded. I'm pretty confident that I'm raising at least one chiropractor. My 16-year-old boy, Sam, says he wants to be a chiropractor. And my daughter, Emma, says she's going to be a chef. She has all the personality to be a chef, which means she has all the personality to be a great chiropractor. So I haven't given up on her yet. I told her she could be both. My walk, the Reader's Digest version of it is I met my wife, Camilla, at Life University, 28 years ago, at the first quarter party, which is the celebratory sort of welcome to the incoming let's call it freshman class of soon-to-be doctor chiropractors. And I met her. I actually, truth is, I stalked her on campus for about 3 weeks before that party because I saw her at registration. And she's this stunning blonde Swede that came over right off the boat from Sweden to become a chiropractor after a stint in the United States as an exchange student living with an awesome chiropractic family in Arkansas. Inspired her to become a chiropractor. So I had my sights locked on Camilla the first time I saw her, and thank you, by the grace of God, it all worked out. And she's put up with me and my antics for the last 28 years. Together, we did an internship in Arkansas for that doctor. We did an associateship in Virginia with a great chiropractor in Roanoke, Virginia, Dr. Parker Adams. She introduced me to the Gonstead chiropractic system while we were in school. I would have followed her anywhere. Thank heavens I followed her to the Gonstead Club. And that's where I really got my fire lit and found a group of docs that I could look up to. And I was desperately in need of mentors in chiropractic at that point. And I saw the art, science, and philosophy of chiropractic being lived out in that system. Turns out I'm a systems guy, and that's now my moniker in chiropractic. She and I launched the original remarkable practice 23 years ago in Boston, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. And we were blessed. We created an awesome place that I'm super proud of. We created the place where families could find a better way to better health. And that was a very clear vision for us. And it was based on the chiropractic principle, a commitment to delivery of clinical excellence and better health outcomes for people. We very much dedicated to patient education. So we created paradigm shifts and I would say real philosophical breakthroughs for our patients so that they would change the way they would think, so they'd change the way they behave so they could actually get better health outcomes. Committed to systematizing everything in the practice, which is where my moniker comes from, everything from attraction to conversion to retention to team building. I'm a world-class expert in building world-class teams, and I'm heavily committed to proper delegation and training and development of my people and elevating my team. And then finally, we had a very robust associate doctor program in our clinic where we created an environment where we created some of the best chiropractors in the world. So we had 39 associate doctors over about a 17-year period. And that's where I really fell in love with training and developing chiropractors. systematizing everything. So regardless of your personality, you could really create a very successful practice. And we taught and trained our docs how to do that. And that's was the birth of the Remarkable Practice system and eventually coaching company and business. So we're now 8 years into training some of the best chiropractors in the world. Some people tell us we've got the biggest group in chiropractic now doing that, which is a real honor and a blessing. And super proud to say that we've got an incredible community of chiropractors who are very successful and very purpose-driven and a lot of fun. We have a tribe we call the Remarkables. We now have thousands of chiropractors inside of our ecosystem, and we coach and train doctors and their teams across what we call the 4 seasons of the chiropractic career, which is launch, build, scale, and exit. Those are the 4 seasons of the chiropractic career. And we teach them how to do all of that purposefully, gracefully, and profitably.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I'm not sure if you've ever spoken specifically to a prospective student audience. Imagine there's a group, you're in a classroom right now, you just shared your entire trajectory and what you've been able to be involved with and build and develop and just where your passion is, where your focus is, what you believe is most important right now for chiropractors in practice today. But if we were to systematize and create some infrastructure that helped pre-chiro students launch and scale and build themselves into somebody who's going to arrive in chiropractic school on week 1 and be clear on why they're there, know what chiropractic is, know what it isn't, know what their interests are and what they want to study. That's really where this conversation is directed at. So I'm hoping that we can explore new territories or get creative here. You mentioned a number of things that I'd love for you to just try and give your Reader's Digest version on, which was becoming a Gonstead chiropractor, talking about the different KPIs. I think that you mentioned a number of different things about chiropractic practice and what chiropractors look at in their practice. What can we do to help build context as to what an associate is and what the other options are for people potentially in that launch phase? And the best you could do. I'm just looking for you to keep rapid fire, building context for people that are really brand new to this profession, that are really just considering it and maybe never have considered it before. So we're really just trying to bring them in. And I'm asking you to start with where you would start with somebody who is.
All right. So I'm going to do a shameless promotion. Just let me reach into my bookcase here. So, okay. You heard me say that my son, Sam, says he wants to be a chiropractor. So, when he said that to me, obviously my heart swelled with pride, but, I have had a book in my head and in my heart for 20 years. And once he said that to me, I said, okay, I've got to write a book for Sam. So I wrote a book called The Remarkable Practice, which is the definitive guide to creating a remarkable practice. And I wrote this for Sam. You can read that in the dedication. And it's available now for you guys to read. So I captured what I wanted him to be able to read before he started school, while he was in school, after he graduated from school. So this is where I would start. It's going to give you such a great perspective on exactly what you just asked me. And I'd really love to bless everybody on the line right now. And I'm going to give you this book. So I'm going to give it away in an ebook form. So if you're interested in it, all I'm going to ask is that there's some show notes here somewhere. I'm sure there's some way to communicate this, but the first person, just write remarkable down in the comments, wherever you're watching this. And the first person that writes remarkable, I'm going to send you a hardcover copy of it and I will sign it. And so all I'm going to need is you to write remarkable and your address, and I'll send it your way. So I hope that's a blessing to a lot of you. So
of course it is. Of course it is. Very generous. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. This is very much part of our purpose. Is I love what BJ said. You should educate your patients not to the degree where they get adjusted, or that they continue to get adjusted regularly, or that they bring their families in to get adjusted, or their families get adjusted regularly. You should educate your patients to the point where they quit their jobs, go back to school, and become a chiropractor. And that, I thought, was marching orders for me as a practitioner, and it always has been. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak into potential chiropractors as well. So it's an extraordinary profession where if you're a person who likes to make a bigger impact. And what's phenomenal about chiropractic is you can really do well while you're doing good. And I love that expression because, it's one thing to feel like, you can make a great living and make a lot of money, and you know what, I think that's awesome. Money follows value, right? So we've raised our children that way. So I think we should be incredibly successful. And I know we've been blessed. But it's just a measure of the amount of value that we've committed to putting into our communities and into our patients' lives and families' lives. When you can change the health trajectory of not just an individual, but an entire family because you change the way they think about their health, when you change the perspective of what's possible for a family as to what their health potential is, and more importantly, give them back the hope and the personal responsibility that comes with getting better health outcomes, it's incredibly empowering and incredibly fulfilling. To have the opportunity to come alongside of somebody and help them recognize that health is a done with you, not a done for you program is an incredible blessing. And to make the ascension from the person who delivers the adjustment, which is just, we're so honored to be able to deliver such a gift into healthcare and into humanity, to make the ascension from the adjustor to the chiropractor. And the chiropractor is the one who actually changes the way a person thinks about their health. When they shift the paradigm from people understanding that health comes from within, and so does sickness, it doesn't come from the outside and it comes from the inside out. And when you change the perspective of a person from outside into inside out, you've changed really their viewpoint around everything about their life. And that's when you become a chiropractor. And then you make the next ascension in front of that to being their leader, to being their health coach, to truly being their doctor, when you hold them accountable to doing the things that will actually drive better outcomes. So there's just a very exciting path in front of all of you. There's a potential path that you can really take the reins on this, and the sky is the limit. The impact that you can make, the value you can deliver, and of course, the living that you can make doing that will be a reflection of the value that you give. So there's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. We all understand the complete cat circus that's going on around us right now, generally, but definitely in the healthcare world and in the healthcare space right now. Ultimately, there's a huge information gap that's been left in the wake of everything that's happened in 2020 and continues in 2021, right? So this massive information gap that's been left by the media, by the government, by the allopathic medical world, there's a huge gap here. And this is an opportunity for us as chiropractors to step into that gap, right? For your community. So there's never been a greater need because of the stress levels. There's never been a greater demand because of the lack of clarity and the confusion and strategies. And there's never been a greater opportunity to be a chiropractor because there's an entire tier in healthcare, an entire conversation that's not happening. Okay. So as chiropractors, we have the opportunity, and I'd say the responsibility, to shift the conversation that's happening in the community right now and shift the conversation away from the example right now is obviously COVID-19 in this situation. Shift the conversation from focusing on the strength of the virus to focusing on the strength of the host. And the beauty of this really is that we don't have to make them wrong to make us right. And here's what I mean by that. There are tiers in healthcare, and the first and the lowest tier in healthcare is the treatment of disease, okay, which is where we wait for people to get sick and then we treat them and try to keep them from dying. And then there's a second tier of healthcare, and that is the prevention of disease, which is where, for example, right now, keeping with this COVID example, there are best practices that are being employed, like social distancing, wash your hands, wear a mask, right? No hugs and high fives. Those are preventative measures, right? And those are in an effort to keep people safe. So we've gone from keeping people from dying to keeping people safe. And those are effective, but that has nothing to do with the state and the health and the strength of the host, right? Neither one of those tiers of healthcare are addressing that. I'm going to suggest that there's a third tier in healthcare that's available for the chiropractors to take as our blue ocean, which is the promotion of health, right? And that's third tier healthcare, which is where we teach people the strategies, the methodologies, the starts doing and stops doing that need to happen, where we can actually strengthen the human being. And once again, the beauty in this is nobody's having this conversation, right? So this is a wide open blue ocean. There's so much confusion here, and there's so much lack of certainty in the community right now. And the only way to fight lack of certainty is to add clarity. And it's a great opportunity for chiropractors to do just that.
Mm-hmm. Many of the people listening to this right now might be playing on a sports team in college, or might be in a classroom where they work well with their fellow students. They're getting ready. Their focus is mainly on admissions, and I'm trying to shift the narrative more to focusing on yourself, to build yourself into somebody who's ready to be a professional. And that means something more than most people are really understanding. So trying to just level up the playing field, so to speak, for the pre-chiro, the undergrad, the prospective audience that might be transitioning careers. As you mentioned, BJ said, quit your career, become a chiropractor. I love when I adjust somebody and I can tell that they're really just loving everything about the experience in the office. And I just said, are you ready to become a chiropractor now? Just as a joke. And they're like, yeah. And obviously there's much more to it. There's an academic part of it. Not everybody's cut out for the academics, but you can, if you have enough drive, really look for opportunities. There's other parts of the world where you can study chiropractic, and it's not as intense as it might be in the US or Canada. I'm not promoting that. I'm just saying, if there's a will, there's a way. So anyway, I appreciate you mentioning those 3 tiers and where chiropractic really stands out. And having started my own practice with very little structure, very little support, my imagination is, what if I was a prospective student starting a pre-chiro club on a college campus, and how that would look and feel, similar to what my experience was opening in a new city that I didn't have any roots in. But can you speak to the details in chiropractic practice? I've heard you mention there's different types of people that are on the team that encompasses a chiropractic practice. And can you just open that up to a prospective student, to what it's like to be in practice? I often mention that innate and focusing on ourselves and within can be split into 2 words, which is our inner state. And the state is our inner scientist, our inner thinker, our inner artist, our inner teacher, our inner entrepreneur. And that's me trying to touch on the idea that we really do have to develop ourselves in different ways. We can't just be the adjustor. We also have to be the chiropractor and be able to teach and communicate effectively. But can you just speak to the different roles that people play within the context of chiropractic practice? And
Absolutely.
And also, yeah.
Absolutely. So I unpack this quite a bit in my book, but I think that's a great place to start, as I always like going back to the Rubik's Cube. So, I have started 7 businesses. I have 5 that I run now. I've gone through the whole 4 seasons of launching, building, scaling, and then exiting a business, right? So I've gone around the block a few times on this. I've built multiple 7-figure businesses, and I can tell you that the first one that I built was actually while I was still in school, and it was a window cleaning service. And the window cleaning service was an extraordinary experience because it taught me so much, almost everything. I want to write a book called Everything I Learned to Be a Successful Chiropractor. I learned everything I needed to know to be a successful chiropractor. I learned washing windows, right? And I used to employ all the other chiropractic students and eventually move family members down, and my brother as my foreman. And eventually he bought my company and he's turned it into something quite spectacular, right? So my second business was my chiropractic practice, and then multiple businesses after that. So I've been around the block quite a bit. The first business took 15 years to get to the $1 million a year mark, right? So, but now does $1 million a month. The second business took about 10 years to get to the $1 million mark. The third business took 5 years. The fourth business took 2.5 years. So you see what I'm saying is I've learned a few things as we go as to what it takes to really create and build a successful business. And I summarize everything that I've learned into this Rubik's Cube model, right? And starting a practice, owning a practice, working inside of a practice, running a practice, whatever perspective you want to take on it, it's like solving a puzzle to be successful. And I'd love to say that it's as simple as a jigsaw puzzle where it's just, unidimensional and you just assemble 300 pieces and there it is. And ta-da, you're done. Unfortunately, it's not Fortunately and unfortunately, because it's exciting, it's not that simple. I think the perfect metaphor is the Rubik's Cube, right? So there's not just one side to solve, there's 6 sides to solve, right? And you asked 3 questions or 4 questions in there, and all of them live here in the Rubik's Cube. And I would suggest that there are 6 sides to the Rubik's Cube, and all 6 sides of these need to be solved in order for you to solve the puzzle of practice success, right? So the first side is vision, which is, what does success look like to you? Okay, so to know what ultimately does success look like to you 5 years out, 10 years out, maybe, to know that that's my ultimate view of what success looks like to me. It's a very personal, very inside out experience. And then what does success look like next, which is 1 year from now, where do I want to be? Okay, so that's the vision story. What does success look like to me, which should be based on your own personal core values. Okay, so that's a bigger conversation for a different day, but again, I unpack it more in the book. And then the second side of the Rubik's Cube is leadership, right? So who do you need to become as a leader to be able to predictably create, manifest, lead, sustain that vision story? So that answers the question of like, what, if I want to build this business a year from now, or I want my life to look like this a year from now, or I want to be a chiropractic student a year from now, what it is. So what attributes do you need to personally work on to be able to be that person? So, the hero in this story is you, right? So if the success story 1 year from now that you're telling, you're going to be the hero in this story. So tell us about that hero. What attributes do you need to work on? What levels of clarity do you need to work on? Or what levels of conviction or certainty, right? So what levels of communication, or, do you need to work on things like procrastination or inconsistency, right? So or communication skills. Like, what do you need to work on, you as a leader, to be the hero in that story 1 year from now? Okay, so you can slip and check yourself against that. It's like developing muscles, but you do it very, very intentionally with training and coaching, reading, studying, downloading, listening to podcasts, etc. Then there's systems. You have to systematize everything in your business, right? So you can have predictable and consistent results. Everything from attraction, conversion, retention, and team building all has to be systematized. And then there's people. The people, making sure that you surround yourself with A players only that share your core values and buy into your vision story. The difference between owning a job and owning your business is your people, right? And putting together a world-class team. And frankly, it's my favorite subject. And then there's training, and training is the commitment to developing those people, right? And the best money you'll ever spend is on yourself, is your own training and coaching, and the training and developing of your people, your team around you. And then finally, it's energy, which is where, as a leader, you have to determine what's important now and what's important next. Where should I be focusing my 4 limited resources? You only have so much time, you only have so much money, you only have so much focus, you only have so much energy. So time, energy, focus, and money, you have to marshal those resources and direct them towards what's important now to manifest my business 1 year from now, and what's important next. What am I going to focus on next? So the power of focus is what makes the difference between busyness and productivity. So it's so critical that you have clarity around where you're going 1 year from now, and what are the steps, what are the things, what do you need to start doing, what do you need to stop doing to get there?
Yeah, those are all great questions for somebody who's about to enter into a chiropractic program that's going to throw a lot of different curveballs at you, from there being an inconsistency in messaging from what you might hear on a weekend seminar or a podcast with you right here, to what's happening in your business class, if you're lucky enough to have those. And I'm just trying to fill some gaps here for students so that they can have a richer experience in chiropractic school, come out more primed and ready to just ingest and really be in flow in practice, right?
Let me bring some more clarity to one thing I said there about team, about yourself as a leader, but also a team and developing team. So we teach a program called Next. Okay, so I mentioned I have several businesses. One of the businesses I have is called Chiro Matchmakers. All right, so we have the Remarkable Practice, which is my coaching and training company. Our other business is Chiro Matchmakers, which is a placement agency for chiropractic. So for DCs, associate doctors, office managers, CAs, marketing people, et cetera, all for the chiropractic. We have a placement service for the chiropractic industry, because I recognize that people are so critically important. I wanted to help our clients fill that gap, right? So I speak from deep experience here. So we have a program that we teach called the Next program, which is designed to answer the question for the doctor who is going into the next chapter of their career. In other words, hey, I'm graduating school, or I'm just finishing one associate position and I wanted to start another, or I'm just finishing an internship and I want to open a practice, whatever, right? So, or I'm in a one state, I'm moving to another, right? So you're getting ready for the next chapter of your career, right? So our program is called Next. And what we unpack in that program is 10 potential tracks to be successful in chiropractic, right? Because at the end of the day, there's been this really limiting belief in chiropractic that there's only two types of chiropractors out there: those that own a practice and those that work for somebody who owns a practice, right? And those are the only two flavors of chiropractors out there. And the only way to be successful is if you own a practice, right? So I want to obliterate, that limiting belief, because it's really been damaging to our profession, and it's definitely been damaging and very limiting to so many chiropractors historically, right? So what I can tell you is there are what we've identified as at least 10, we speak about 10 of them, 10 different ways, 10 different pathways, 10 different models, or 10 different tracks for you to look at as let's say you're a student trying to think about, what do I do after graduation? And it's everything. And we list these, I'm not going to try to do an exhaustive discussion around these now, but just to give people an idea of what the heck I'm talking about. You can come out of school, or you can make your next move, and you might want to open your own practice from scratch, right? You might want to join a franchise, right? You might want to join a corporate, like a larger group like Chiro One, for example, or a franchise like Align Life, right? You might want to come out of school and do some type of associateship that leads to an equity partnership. You might want to come out of school and do an associateship that leads to a plant to purchase, where a doctor will groom you, vet you, and plant you in a practice that they'll invest in you, and you buy that practice from them. It's called a plant to purchase. You might want to do a plant to partner, where the same thing, you come out of school, work for another doc, they train you up, they vet you. In other words, they make sure that you're a good investment and a good risk for them to plant in a remote clinic that they continue to own, and you run it. Or maybe you have an equity opportunity to buy into that practice, right? Maybe you're going to do a takeover where you come in and you buy a practice from a doctor that's retiring or moving or what have you. Maybe you come in and you want to be an associate doctor caregiver, where it's like, listen, I never wanted to own my own business. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a chiropractor. I want to do great work. I want to be in an environment where I can take great care of people. And I would like to be a caregiver or associate doctor, right? So there's all sorts of opportunity out here, gang, where there's lots of ways for you to be very successful. And in Chiro Matchmakers, what we do is we act like agents to make sure that the associate doctor really is well taken care of and protected in this situation. Because here's the truth: when the associate doctor, or what we call the talent, wins, the owner wins. And it becomes a win-win-win scenario, because the patients win, the team wins, the community wins, chiropractic wins. And when this is done well, everybody wins. But if it's done poorly and it's not done well, everybody loses. It's painful for the associate. It's painful for the owning doctor. It's painful for the team. So it's a lose-lose-lose for the owner, for the talent, for the team, for the patients, for chiropractic, right? So we're very passionate about doing this right. So I'll put a link down below here, I guess, to get them more information about the Next program if you'd like to hear more about that. We're actually going to be doing like day-long summits for the schools, where we unpack all 10 tracks and bring in experts to speak on each of the tracks. So we're doing one at Life University at the end of the first quarter, beginning of second quarter. I'm unsure of the date, but just so you know, that's coming down the pike. So keep your ears out for the Next program to give you just the more clarity around what are some of the options out there, because there's lots of ways to contribute to chiropractic, and we need every type of chiropractor out there, and put them in a position of genius, of using their genius, of their strength, and that's when everybody wins.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, on behalf of the students' perspective and current, that's such a valuable thing to do, to demystify the different options and really help support and protect, as you said, the talent, because there's so many talented chiropractors that don't get that support right out of school. They don't feel that support while they're in school, and they definitely are not getting any support before school. And that's where we're at right now. We're just trying to build a better future for this profession because we know how valuable it is. The type of impact is immense. So thank you so much. And are students from other schools able to join in on that Life University one-day immersion, or is it something you have to be enrolled at Life for?
That's a great question that I can't answer. We haven't even defined that yet, but I think that's an excellent idea, and I would certainly entertain that. I would just have to get the okay from Life University on that.
Okay,
But because of everything now is done virtually, we can bring this to every campus. So we promised, like, because I'm a Life grad and I'm really involved at Life University, I promised that we would do it there first. So, this is something that, is a novel thing for the profession, and they're excited to be hosting us there. So once we get all of the details defined around this, I'll make sure that you'll have that information broadcasted out so that you can either attend that event or bring us onto your campus. If you are a student, you just have to find out who the contact person is, and you can reach out to me. I want you guys to feel that you're not alone. I want to make sure you understand a couple of things to be encouraged by. Number one, this is a great time to be a chiropractor. So that means it's a great time to be a chiropractic student. In fact, it's a great time to be in school while all this craziness is going on in the world as things have shifted and changed. But I want you to know that our doctors in 2020 had their best years ever. Okay. And I'm talking about hundreds of doctors had the best years ever. So I want to encourage you on that. Secondly, I want you to know that there's lots of ways to be successful in chiropractic. You just need to have the right guidance. Okay. Number three, if we can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. Don't wait until you graduate. You should spend your time in school preparing for practice, not just trying to pass boards, right? So it should be, how do I prepare to be successful in practice? The best investment you can possibly make is in yourself and your own personal development. And you'll never have more time on your hands than you have right now while you're still in school to develop yourself as a great doctor, as a great leader, as a great chiropractor, as a great speaker. So now is the time. Let us help you do that.
Perfect. Yes. If there was one last question, you just answered it, which is, what do we do with our free time as chiropractic students to really prepare to be better chiropractors when we get out? You did it right there. The mindset of you really just stepping into the student's shoes was alive on this call today. So thank you so much for your time, Dr. Steven, and
So good.
shining that light for the profession. It's making the profession so much stronger, and I believe with strength, we can get very far in this world. There are schools opening right now in Australia, in Brazil, that are both claiming to be, pushing forth the same messaging of life in New Zealand and Barcelona and Life West and Sherman. So it's really exciting times to see schools popping up. I think Scotland's got a school on the horizon, and
there's so much energy around it right now. It's very exciting because, like I said, the demand is climbing, right? So just know that. So get ready. Again, the best way to get ready if I were a student right now is get your hands on my book, The Remarkable Practice. We'll have the link down below. I'll give you a free copy of the ebook. You can go on Amazon and buy it if you want to buy this paperback and hardcover. And like I said, the first person that writes remarkable down there, you got a signed copy on the way. I just need your address. And to be honest with you, read that book. If you love it, reach out to us. We'd love to help you more. If you hate it, you're going to hate what we do at The Remarkable Practice, because it's really a description of how do you really create this thing. And is it possible? I can tell you right now, it's absolutely possible. And it's an extraordinary path to take.
You heard it here live. This is the Pre-Chiro podcast, just trying to make your experience in chiropractic school better and help your transition into chiropractic school be the best choice and feel right for you. Be clear on your choices. And I wish you guys a great day. Thank you so much.
God bless, guys.